Hey friends, and welcome to the Girl Means Business podcast. I'm your host, Kendra Swalls, a photographer and educator on a mission to help you find your passion, power, and purpose through entrepreneurship. So let's jump right into today's episode because this girl means business. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Girl Means Business podcast. This week we have an incredible guest and an amazing topic. But before we get to that, I want to pull the curtain back a little bit and share with you some of the process that goes into choosing the guests for this show. Each week, I get several emails from podcast managers, business owners, pitching me their idea to be a guest on the show. Now, I try to be really particular about who I invite to be on the show because I want to make sure that they're not just in this to pitch their own product or service, that they are here to give you valuable insights, information, tips, and tools you can utilize in your business. So when I received an email from Cailen Ascher asking to be part of the show, and her topic of choice to talk about was how to create a 3-day work week, I immediately was interested. I started looking more into what she does, who she is, and what we could talk about. And I knew that this was a topic that was going to be a really fun one to bring onto the show. Cailen is a business coach, a mom of two, and the founder of Success Made Simple. Her masterminds and her teachings have helped thousands of women upgrade their lives and business with her simple strategies for working less, making more, and living better. Throughout our conversation, she is sharing tip after tip after tip for ways that you can really whittle down your work time and have focused work days so that you are not spending all of your time working on your business, that you can enjoy life. And I know for myself and for a lot of you listening, that is a huge reason why we started a business in the first place, was to have more time with our families, to have more time to do things that we enjoy, to not be a slave to the 9-to-5. And so when you leave your 9-to-5 and you come into this world of entrepreneurship and you start realizing you're working 24/7. I mean, is probably not a day that goes by that I don't do something for my business, whether it is social media or working on content or recording episodes and things like that. It's always something. And so the idea of working smarter, not harder, is really, really intriguing. And I love that Cailen makes it so simple and she breaks down all the things that really go into getting those focused work days so that you are spending just 3 days on your business and the rest of the time doing things that you enjoy. Now, for me, the idea of only working 3 days seems like a challenge, but ever since my conversation with Cailen, I've been thinking really hard about the things we've talked about. And I have a new goal for myself that I'm going to create a 4-day work week. My goal is to have Monday through Thursday be my really busy, intense work days. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday are for my family. Those are the days that we enjoy our time together. I can take a little break from creating content and social media and all the things that I'm doing in my day-to-day life. I'm going to start utilizing things like out-of-office email messages and text replies to let people know that if they need me, I will be in touch with them on my work days. So hopefully our conversation inspires you to start thinking about ways that you can have focused work time so that you can have really intentional rest time and family time and time to do the things that you love and enjoy. All right, guys, so let's get to my conversation with Cailen Ascher and the 3-day work week. All right, guys, I am here with Cailen Ascher. We're going to be chatting today about getting down to a 3-day work week. She's going to share all of her incredible tips with us. I can't wait to dive into it. So Cailen, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Kendra.
Thanks for being here. I can't wait to dive into your story and hear all about how you have been able to manage your time to get down to working a 3-day work week. So let's start with telling us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and you're a little bit of your story for us.
Sure. Yeah, that's always helpful, right? So I am a business coach. I love sharing very practical strategies, but I also bring a lot of personal growth and mindset into my coaching too. So my ladies are often moms who are needing a little bit of a boost, believing in themselves while also taking that aligned action to build the businesses that they are dreaming of and desiring. And I've been coaching now for 6 years. My goodness, now that we've turned into the new year, it's been 6 years officially. And it's been a journey. I've been an entrepreneur for a lot longer than that. Took me a while to figure out where I wanted to be and what I wanted to be doing and teaching. And now I feel so fortunate that I get to do work I love with women that I think are awesome. And like you said, I have that 3-day work week, which I started at the very beginning with, because my older daughter, it was a brand new baby, and it just is what felt good for myself and my family. I had really no idea if it would actually work out like financially, but it did. I mean, I'm here, it's still working, still have that 3-day work week. And so I'm excited for our conversation today to dig into that and share more.
Yeah. And I love what you said, like you weren't sure if it was going to work out. I think every entrepreneur knows that feeling of that leap of faith that you have to take, because nothing is guaranteed. You just kind of have to try it and see if it works. And I know I'm the type of person that I would rather try it and have it not work than wonder and think, well, what if? So I love that. Yes. And you said you've been an entrepreneur for a while. So what were you doing before you do what you do now?
Yeah. So before business coaching, and my audience now, like I said, is a lot of moms or women who still have full-time jobs. Like, you mentioned that too to me right before we started recording, that you have a lot of women like that in your audience as well. But prior to that, just before that, I was doing business coaching for yoga teachers and people in the yoga community. I had trained as a yoga teacher. I taught yoga for years. I still practice every day. And I realized there was a real lack at the time. This was back in like 2012 in that industry of business guidance for yoga teachers. It was sort of like, go through this training, have an amazing practice, be able to teach these awesome classes. And then they were left trying to figure out how to make any money doing it. And so I really loved that, because it was this blend of both things I was passionate about. I had been an entrepreneur for about 4 years at that point, starting a bunch of different businesses. I started out in interior design and then went over to blogging. I had like a lifestyle blog and was doing freelance writing. And then the yoga stuff came along, and it felt like this really great blend of my personal practice of yoga and my love of business and strategy. And I still bring a lot of all of that into my coaching now. And a lot of my clients are still in the yoga sphere, but I also work with women above and beyond that who are service-based business owners.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. I just think I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur as well. So I came from teaching to photography to now like helping other women build their own business. So it's always interesting to see, other people who are kind of multi-passionate as well. And it's okay to dabble in a couple different things, figure out what's a good fit. And sometimes there's a season for it, and then you move on to the next thing, and that's okay too. So I love that. Now, obviously you mentioned you're a mom as well. How many kids do you have?
I have 2 girls. They're 6 and 3.
Perfect. Oh my goodness. Girls. Yeah, me too. 2 girls. Okay. So you said your first daughter came along, and that's when you kind of started implementing this 3-day work week. So talk to us a little bit about like what that looks like for you and like how that all came about, because I know a lot of people listening are like, man, that sounds amazing. I would love to have a 3-day work week. And I know for me personally, they always say like, oh, do what you love. And it never feels like you work a day in your life. But really, when you are working for yourself, it feels like you can work 24/7. So tell us a little bit about how this whole idea came about and how it works.
Yeah. So the 3-day work week came to me because, like I said, I had been doing the yoga stuff and working with yoga teachers and talking to them about building businesses. And I was really hustling to make that business work. The yoga community wasn't super receptive at the time. I mean, I think a lot has changed since then. It's been like 8-9 years, but they weren't super receptive to investing in business coaching and things like that. And so it was hard. I knew I had a lot of value to share. I really loved yoga and wanted to support the industry, but it was hard to make a living doing it. And so when my daughter arrived, it gave me permission to take a break, take a pause. I took a few months off and really questioned whether or not I wanted to go back to my business at all, because it suddenly didn't make sense to be working so hard and putting that kind of energy into something that at the time was making me like $25,000 a year. It wasn't, and working full-time hours, like it just wasn't, it didn't add up. And so when I took this time off after she was born and was thinking about how I would feel down the road, just letting the dream go. And I realized I would definitely regret it, and also wouldn't feel like I was setting the best example for her and whatever other children arrived along the way. And so I asked myself, it's like, what would feel good? It's like, how could this be a yes again for me? And this idea of a 3-day work week arrived, and I was thinking about it, and like, if I could work just Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and not a crazy long day, just 9 to 4, 9 to 3, and somehow make the same money I was making before, that would feel amazing. Half the hours and the same income, that would be great. And so it became this sort of experiment. I really loved the idea of it. And, luckily I am, with a partner, my husband, who did have a steady job and was able to take care of us. So I had the freedom to explore this for myself. And within a year, my business really started getting its footing and taking off. And I focused more heavily on the one-on-one coaching. And I just started shifting things because I had this priority of this little baby and this new healthy boundary around my working hours. And I honestly just think I started acting more like a business owner, less like a scrappy solopreneur trying to make it work and hustling all the hours. And so this was 2015 when I started my 3-day work week. And by the end of that year, in the last quarter, I made as much money as I had made in the entire previous year. Wow. And I realized there's something to this, like something's really unlocked here for me. And I started investing more in myself and my personal growth and my professional growth. And the next year, 2016, was my first 6-figure year as a business coach, as, a woman with a 3-day work week. And when that happened, then that's what everyone wanted to talk about, right? Like that was the moment that was like, it's not just a magical unicorn. There's proof here that something's going on. And so a lot of my clients now find me and want to work with me and talk with me about my 3-day work week and how to make something like that, even if it's not the exact same 3-day work week that I have, but a flexible, part-time, feel-good schedule and still have the level of success that they're desiring.
Oh my gosh. So much about what you just said, I absolutely love. And I was jotting down notes as you were saying things. And one quote in particular that I think is so powerful, as you said, you started acting more like a business owner and less like sort of this like scrappy hustling entrepreneur. And I think that that's so important because you are now in control of your business instead of your business being in control of you. And I know that like for me, when I quit my teaching job to do my photography full time, I had all these visions of like, oh, it's going to be so great. I'm going to have all this time and I'll be able to like work for a few hours in the morning and then have all the rest of the day to hang out with my kids or go run errands or go to the park or whatever. And the reality of it was I was not doing that at all. I was going in every single day and I was spending all this time, each day, whether it was, and it wasn't all just in the morning, it was an hour here, an hour there, 2 hours here, 30 minutes there, whatever little pockets I could find. And it feels really overwhelming. And then it feels, like I said, your business is now running you instead of you controlling your business. So I think that's such an important piece of it. And I think, of course, the next logical question I'm sure a lot of people listening to this are going to have is, how exactly do you make this work? Because, it seems like this idealistic, I'm going to work 3 days and I'm going to get everything done I need to get done in 3 days. And then I'm going to have this great 4-day weekend where I don't worry about work at all. So how do you actually make that happen and set those boundaries so that you're not allowing your work to seep into your Saturday afternoon?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
If you've been listening to the Girl Means Business podcast for any amount of time, then you know my love of email marketing runs deep. Not only is it a great way to generate new leads, but it's one of the most effective methods for nurturing warm leads and turning them into sales. Now, over the years, I've tested several email platforms, and my favorite by far is Flowdesk. Not only do they make email marketing simple and easy, even for the technically challenged, but they have everything you need to create stunning emails, capture leads, make sales, and automate the entire process, giving you time back in your busy day. And the cherry on top is you're only charged one flat fee no matter how many subscribers you have. So while other platforms will increase your price when you go over your pricing tier limit, Flowdesk has no price increases or hidden fees. If you're ready to give Flowdesk a try, click the link below in the show notes to save 50% off your first year. Let Flowdesk help you design emails people will love. Click the link below and check it out. I have a feeling you're going to love it just as much as I do.
Yeah, that's such a good question. And the way I stepped into it was I actually did sort of like a time inventory. Is I just observed myself. I didn't try to make any crazy changes right away. I just wanted to see how I was currently using my time and making use of my energy. And so I did it really old school. I just had like a legal pad next to me as I was working and set a timer. Every hour I would pause and just jot down what I did. And I soon realized where I was lacking focus, getting interrupted by emails, things like that, hopping into my Facebook group to post something and then realizing that 10 minutes went by. All of those little things started to come to the surface. And I realized there's a better way to do this. And so that was a very eye-opening exercise. It gave me a lot of data to work with because then I could start seeing where I could batch things together, things that I could eliminate or reduce. And so those practical steps were really useful. I will also say at the time, I was doing a lot of work with my mindset of believing the possibility of having the life that you want and the life that you picture for yourself. And so that's always a fundamental foundational piece of everything that I do. I start every day with yoga and meditation. I do a lot of journaling and affirmation reminders that pop up on my phone. All of that helped me believe that the changes I was making weren't going to stifle my growth, but rather support my growth. And so it was really this combination of these simple mindset shifts and also these aligned actions that were moving me in that direction. So a few more practical things that I did was once I had that list, that time inventory, I looked at it and I asked myself, what do I enjoy? And what am I actually good at? And that was really interesting, right? Because we tend to, as business owners, as moms, just as, high achieving women, to do all the things for everyone all the time, yep. Right? Like I'm sure everyone is nodding along as they're hearing this because that's just how we're wired. And I looked at that list and I realized, hey, I'm doing a ton of stuff that I don't particularly enjoy and I'm not very good at. Like, yes, I can code my own WordPress website, but that doesn't light me up. And, power to you if it does, that's amazing. But that wasn't my zone of genius. And so it started to give me permission and to think about hiring. How could I support another woman in business and hand off some of these things to her? And so one of the first moves I made was hiring a VA. I think it was just for 5 hours a month. It was like 1 hour a week, such a little investment, such a little amount of time, but it cracked that door open of this idea of eliminating stuff off my plate, outsourcing it so it freed up more of my time. Another thing I did, and this wasn't a business hire, but I hired house cleaners to come twice a month, every other week. And that's one of those things I'm not particularly good at, and I definitely don't enjoy is cleaning the house. But there are amazing, we have 2 women who come, they're great at it. I think they enjoy it more than I do. And I'm supporting them and their business and their families. And so it definitely just started feeling more of this abundance mindset of, paying it forward. It's okay to release money if I'm using it in a way that feels really supportive of me and my business and my family. And so all of those things started to, and this is over, a year or so of like figuring out how to make this 3-day work week work for me. But all of those things added up to me making a lot more money, me having a lot more confidence in myself, and me really believing that, the time I'm spending in my business is not a 1-for-1 equation to how much money I'm making, because I cut back my hours and I like quadrupled my revenue in about a year. So they weren't as tied together as I thought they were.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I kind of want to break down some of the things that you went over, because there's so much good in here. One thing that I definitely want to make sure we're reinforcing so that people listening don't feel overwhelmed is that you said you did this over the course of like a year. You didn't do it all in one day. You didn't say, okay, I'm going to get my mind right. I'm going to find my zone of genius. I'm going to outsource all these things. I'm going to start setting up all these, the structures in place. It was not something you did in like a 1 week span of time. So anyone listening, just know, like, give yourself some grace. You don't have to do all of this today. Yes, because I know, I do this all the time. I listen to a podcast. I'm like, they're like, okay, do A, B, C, D, and E, and you will have this success, or you'll set up this system in your business. And then I assume that means you do it all at one time, when they did it over like a 4-month period. So I want to clarify that, yes, this is not something that that's going to happen overnight. Slowly implementing these things, and then you'll start to notice the changes. Okay, so let's go back to the time inventory, because this is really interesting to me. I've never done this like in the detail that you did. I've done it kind of on a broader scale, just like in my day, what little things did I get done and how much time did that actually add up to of work time. But I like the idea of really evaluating hour by hour or block of time by block of time what you actually got accomplished, because there's so many things that we think, oh my gosh, well, I don't know, like, I feel like I did so much today, or I feel like I spent so much time working on these things. But when you really realize, like, yeah, you did, you jumped on Facebook and you were there for 20 minutes, or you were scrolling through Instagram Reels for 15 minutes, like looking at those. And so your hour that you thought you were working was really only 30 minutes. And how could you have better used that time? So I love the time inventory thing. And I think you said you just did it on like a legal pad. Did you do that over like one day? Did you do it multiple times? How often did you track that to find those patterns?
Yeah, that's a really good question. If I'm remembering correctly, I did it for, I think it was 3 days, to see sort of the patterns that were developed in what I was doing currently, so that I could start making some incremental upgrades. And I do totally want to echo what you said about making these changes slowly and sustainably, because if you're currently working a full-time job, for example, and you're thinking, okay, well, I also have to figure out how to get in these 3 work days, or I have to, or I'm working more hours than I want to, and I have to cut back to 3 days. It's not going to happen right away. You have to have a little grace. And so taking a step in the right direction, if you're working a lot, maybe having a hard stop at 5 o'clock, so you're not working through the evening. Or maybe if you're working a lot on the weekends and you want to corral that down to just Saturday mornings, or something that's a step in the right direction. It doesn't have to be the ultimate destination of where you want the schedule of yours to go. Just hold that vision and ask yourself, like, what's a simple and easy thing I can do right now that'll feel like an improvement, that'll feel like it's supporting me in the direction of where I want to go, and do that. Start there. It's okay for it to feel almost so small that it, like, could this even make a difference? Sometimes those are the very things that feel good. And then once you prove to yourself that you can commit to this, you can make another upgrade and keep moving in the direction of what your ideal schedule looks like.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, photographers, are you ready to make 2024 your best year yet? Growing a business is tough. You're following all the successful photographers and experts, soaking up their best advice and downloading all their free guides, trying to replicate their success only to come up lacking, blaming yourself when their methods don't work for you. But the truth is, it isn't you. Free content and one-size-fits-all courses can only get you so far. What you need is personalized help and guidance, but that can get expensive. Well, not anymore. I've created the perfect solution to get you personalized results for less than $2 a day. Introducing the Focus Photographer Lab, a one-of-a-kind coaching membership that gets you one-on-one results for a fraction of the cost of traditional coaching. Inside the lab, you'll find the 3 C's to success: classes, coaching, and community. With classes, you gain access to a treasure trove of pre-recorded trainings and invaluable resources. With coaching, you get monthly live trainings and Q&A sessions, along with my favorite part, the weekly one-on-one office hours, where we get to address your unique questions and challenges. And then there's the community, where you get to connect with an amazing group of talented female photographers who share your passion, supporting each other and inspiring each other to greatness. The best part is it doesn't come with an expensive one-on-one coaching price tag. You get all of that for just $47 a month. You can even try it for free for 14 days to make sure it's a good fit for you. And there is no contract and no obligation. You can cancel at any time. So what are you waiting for? Head down to the show notes and click the link to learn more and get signed up today. And let's make 2024 our best year yet. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. So many things I want to ask questions about here, but okay. So let's move on to the fact of like the mindset piece. Like
Sure.
You talked about how you do, like your daily like meditation, and you had to get into the mindset that this is not going to hinder your business. It's going to grow your business. And I do think that, a lot of people have that fear. It's kind of like the fear of niching down, that if you really focus on one group and one specific piece of your business, like for photographers, it's really scary to say, I'm only going to photograph this one thing, as opposed to being like, I'll take anybody that comes to me, and that fear is that when you start to close in on the one thing, that you're going to eliminate all these other potential opportunities. And so how did you work on your mindset piece of that? Because I know even for me sitting here listening to you talk, this all sounds amazing. And I definitely want to, implement this in my life and in my routine. But I'm also thinking like, okay, how do I get my mind around the idea that working these 3 days, or even if you do 4 days or whatever, how am I going to get everything done I need to get done? How am I going to be as productive? How is this going to grow my business? Because everything else is telling me work harder, do more, do all these other things. So how did you work on that piece of it?
Yeah, that's a rich question, right? Like, how do we do this?
That could be like a whole episode of itself. So
okay, so let me pull what I really want to say here. So I think that one of the best ways to shift your mindset is to start finding examples in the world that prove that belief true. Sometimes before we can believe it true for ourselves, we can start to feel into it by seeing it and knowing it to be true for others. And so I think that's why so many of my clients have good results with this, is because they're seeing a living example in me, and then the other graduates of my programs and the things like that, they suddenly become sort of indoctrinated into this idea that, hey, this is possible. And so the first thing to do is give yourself support so that it feels possible, even if it doesn't feel possible for you, that in the scope of the entire world, that it is possible for someone or someone's. I think that's been really, really helpful for me. And maybe you can't find an example right away that totally models what you're going for, but just to say, do I think in the scheme of everything that it's possible for someone like me, with my similar skill set, with my background, my expertise, with the business I want to build and the hours I want to work, is it possible potentially for them to achieve whatever the revenue goal is? Let's say $100,000 a year. The 6 figures thing is what a lot of people go for. And most of the time when you do it that way, you're like, yeah, I think it is possible. Maybe not for me, but for like a clone of me that she could do it. And maybe someday I'll get closer to that. And so I think that's a really great thing to catch yourself when you're feeling like this won't work for me. This can't happen for me. do I really, really believe that? Is that the truth? Is that the ultimate truth? And what's truer? It's truer that people are doing this. They are making it work. Now that I've started having these conversations on podcasts with so many women and talking to women in my community and my peers and colleagues in the coaching industry, so many people have worked 20 hours, 15 hours a week and have businesses even more successful than mine, like 7-8 figure businesses. And so it starts to blow your mind open a little bit more that you can, of course, achieve the things that you're reaching for right now when you start seeing so many examples of it occurring all around you.
Well, that makes complete sense because I think about like social media, whatever you're consuming, whatever you're allowing to be kind of your circle of relevance, that's what you're going to assume is possible. And so if you widen that, or if you selectively choose, what you're going to allow to be in that circle of relevance for you, then it changes. If you're consuming content from people who are like, I work 7 days a week and I hustle, and I do all these things, then you're going to start thinking that that's the only way to do it. But if you're opening it up to people who are like, oh no, I protect my time and I don't do things on the weekends, and Mondays are my day off to rest and this and that, like that's going to be what you are, feel is capable too. I think that's really key there. Like I said, you have to change who you're looking at almost to see like what's really out there. Cause I think we get so honed in on these certain people that we follow or that we have, in our sphere that we want to be like. And we're like, oh, but that's the only way to do it is the way they did it. And that's just not always the case. And then the last thing I want to kind of talk about is the outsourcing piece. You talked about like figuring out like what you're good at, what you enjoy, and then you started outsourcing things to that. I know that that's something I have talked to a lot of people that I've interviewed on my podcast, and that seems to be a theme of what people like to talk about is outsourcing and the power of outsourcing. I've done the same thing. I have, a podcast manager who helps me with editing my shows and getting graphics for it and all those things, because yes, I could do it on my own. And much to my husband's disagreement with me, he's like, why are you paying somebody when you could do all these things on your own? He's all about saving as much money as possible. And I'm like, but I don't need to do all those things. There's way better ways I could spend my time. And two, if they can do it better than I can, then I would rather have somebody else do it for me. I'm not a sound editor. I am not a graphic designer. Like you talked about the website thing, like I'm not a web designer. So if I can get somebody else and I can help support another person's small business, then I'm going to do that. And so I think the power of outsourcing is huge. And like you said, you started off with just like an hour a week with your VA. And I think that's a great point, is that when people talk about outsourcing, I think a lot of times people listening to the show or other podcasts are like, okay, but that means I got to pay somebody, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month. And I just don't have that. When really it can start small. Like you said, like hire somebody for an hour a week. It could be $25 to $50 a week or whatever, the going rate is based on what they're doing for you. But you can definitely start with those little baby steps and then work your way up. And I think you'll start to see that you now have more time to do the things that are either A, going to make you more money in your business, B, make you more productive and allow you to have that 3-day work week, like you said. So I definitely think that's so important. What would you say as far as the outsourcing piece? Like, I know you started with like a virtual assistant kind of thing. Like, what advice would you give to somebody who's listening to this and thinking, I'm so nervous to outsource a piece of my business, either because of the cost or giving up, you're handing over part of your business. It's like handing your baby over to someone to babysit them for a couple hours. Like, it can be scary. So how do you help your clients and the moms that you're working with feel comfortable doing that?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I was talking about with that time inventory. When you get clear on how you're using your time, and then you see the stuff that you're doing that you're not good at and that you don't enjoy, it becomes easier to wrap your head around the idea of handing those things to someone else and noticing, oh, if these were lifted out of my schedule, of my responsibilities, what would I have time and space for? Another client, a new project that's exciting me, write a book, whatever it is that's on your heart and your mind, then you create space for it. And so I think that's a really useful exercise for that as well. Not just getting sort of a handle on how you're using your time and energy and how you want to be doing it better, but also what could you, if you're feeling ready, what could you start handing off to someone else? And again, and I feel like this is the theme, we mentioned it with our schedule, making small incremental changes. We talked about mindset, like just starting with those small possible beliefs. And again, here with outsourcing, I think realizing that it probably in the beginning would only cost you a couple $100s a month, like probably $200 or $300 a month to get a bulk of hours to be supported in your business. And when you're new and the business is lighter and there's less, complication in it, that's all you really need. Someone to just handle those few things that maybe are taking you an hour to do, and it would only take her 20 minutes or him. So I think when you just kind of jump in, maybe a little bit before you feel totally ready, because you probably never will, and start small and start easing into, and now I've got, I have someone who's my operations director who has been with me for 4.5 years. And I have someone who runs my Facebook ads, and I have a customer service VA, and we've got women who do some coaching inside my programs. It's like you get addicted to hiring these amazing team members because they help you and they bring cool ideas to the table and they take things off your plate and they just make a better experience for you as the business owner and also for your clients. And so it's, and also I think what I realized is that there was no super successful businesswoman, these mentors and coaches that I was looking at who was doing it all by herself. All of them.
We all think they are, but they're not.
Yeah. Oh, they're not. Yeah. No. Even though they're the face of their brand, they're not totally doing it by themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I don't remember exactly how you worded it, but the idea too, that, when you're trying to do everything by yourself and it feels really overwhelming, you're not tapping into all the potential that your business really has. When you hire people and you create this team of other people who are invested in your business, and they will have ideas that you maybe never thought of, or, you might throw out an idea and be like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. And they might come back and say, oh, that's great. But what if we did it this way? And they're going to see it in a way or approach it in a way that you would never have thought of. And so by opening up your business to inviting other people to join you and be a partner with you in some ways, even if it's a little teeny small piece of it, you're expanding the potential of what your business can do and how it can help people. Because your vision for your business is one thing, but when other people start having a similar vision and can expand on it, the potential is limitless. I love that feeling of being like, I'm not in this alone. I have someone helping me, and two heads are better than one. I mean, there's so much greatness to it. I'm a big believer in outsourcing as well. So, well, Cailen, this was amazing. And I'm definitely excited to dive into, I'm going to do the time inventory for sure. In fact, I may work on that this next week because I need to really figure out where am I spending my time for real? Where are my gaps where I'm wasting time that I could be doing other things? So I think that's a really key piece of information there. So tell us if somebody wants to learn more about your 3-day work week, or I know you have a little schedule thing they can download. So tell us about that and how people can find you or get in touch with you if they want to chat with you more.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love that. If what I'm sharing is resonating, I've got a freebie that would probably be really useful. It's called my 3-day work week schedule. It's a guidebook that shows you exactly what my schedule looks like. It gives you, hour by hour what I'm doing. And I have my whole task list in there, and also a bunch of tips about your mindset and practical stuff too, about how to make this work for you and your business and your family. And so that you can find over at my website, CailenAscher.com. It's right there on the homepage. You can't miss it. So that would be a great starting place. And there's some links to other support trainings and things like that from that guidebook. So it's a great starting point for all of this.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, and I'll have that linked down in the show notes. People can easily find you. And then are you on Instagram, Facebook? Can they go look for you there somewhere too?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on Instagram, Cailen.Ascher. And I've been doing even more over there. I have one of my VA is Instagram savvy. So we're building more of our community over there too, which is super fun. And I have a free Facebook group. It's called the 3-Day Workweek group. And we do lots of support and, share cool things for our community and help them just get into that space of believing that a 3-day work week is possible. So that would be a great place to hang out with me and learn more. We've got, I think, about 4,000 women in there. So it's a good community.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. This has been so interesting. I learned a lot. I hope everybody listening is taking some notes and taking away some really key things they can implement here. And I will definitely send everybody to go download your 3-day schedule so they can get started on that. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful day.
You too, Kendra. Take care.
Thank you to Cailen so much for all of this incredible insight, ideas, and just things to think about. I know for me, I've walked away from this with tons of ideas for ways that I want to start condensing my workday so that I can enjoy my downtime even more. I would love to know what you thought of today's episode. How many days a week do you work on your business? Head over to Instagram, find me at Girl Means Business, send me a DM and let me know what you thought of today's episode. Or head over to the Girl Means Business Facebook group and let's continue the conversation there. I'll make sure those are all linked down in the show notes for you. And of course, as always, make sure you follow Cailen online and keep in touch with her. Go leave her some love and let her know you heard her here on the Girl Means Business podcast. And one more thing before we wrap up this episode, make sure you've entered the $100 Amazon gift card giveaway for our 100th episode. We are 1 week away from choosing our winner. So if you really enjoyed this episode, take a screenshot, go share it, and tag me at Girl Means Business to be entered to win. All right, that does it for this week's episode, guys. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you back here next week, same time, same place.